So I watched Saltburn the other day, and I'm aware I'm about 9 months late to the party, but I was still curious to see the film described to me as made for feral Gen Z TikTokers. First off, I love the cinematography in Saltburn. The decision to shoot in a retro 4:3 aspect ratio really enhanced the visuals and was effective in creating that noughties nostalgia which underpinned the whole film's aesthetic. I also thought Saltburn started strong. Oliver Quick, played by Hollywood's favourite hot rodent Barry Keoghan, is a scholar at Oxford University struggling to find his footing amongst his more privileged peers. He becomes obsessed with a charismatic, wealthy student Felix Catton, played by Euphoria heartthrob Jacob Elordi. Ollie blags himself an invite to spend the summer at the Catton family estate, Saltburn, setting the stage for a dazzling analysis of class and the dark undercurrents of privilege.
Anything! Ollie! Will you be quiet? Sit down and eat the bloody pie. Just eat it, and shut up! Eat the bloody...
Except, nah, not really. The film ultimately can't be bothered with that. In the end, it's more seductive clickbait that looks good, but doesn't really make you think. In fact, a lot of the time during the film I was just thinking,
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Now don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Saltburn. It was fun, a filmmaking achievement in itself. The acting's great, with Keoghan, Elordi and particularly Rosamund Pike providing stellar performances. The dialogue's often sharp and witty.
I mean, they probably don't have rehab in Liverpool.
No, gosh, no. No, I can't imagine they do.
No, so everybody just goes to ruin, I suppose.
Where is Liverpool?
I think it's on this.
But, second half, I couldn't silence a nagging inner voice asking, what exactly is this film about? Saltburn poses interesting questions and its absurdist glamour had me on the hook at first, but ultimately it's a film without a pulse. Less eat the rich satire, more feast your eyes porno. It's maniac without a cause. And there's the puzzle I struggle with the most. Why is this bloke such a freak? At the film's denouement, he stands, dances naked, revealed. A sociopathic manipulator fixated on infiltrating society's most privileged circle. He picks the lock via an improbable friendship with one of the circle's most charismatic members. Then, once inside, plays and outplays every one of his hapless, heedless benefactors, seamlessly assuming their identities.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
I've met this guy before. In fact, I'm watching him right now, just not in Saltburn. Tom Ripley. As played by a mesmeric Andrew Scott in the new Steven Zalian Netflix adaptation, Ripley. Now, many a comparison has been made between Saltburn and the talented Mr Ripley, starring
Matt Damon
and Jude Law. Critics believe that Fennell was heavily inspired by the 1999 film because they are extremely similar, but she's tried to downplay the influence. However, watching Saltburn and Ripley in tandem, I couldn't help but compare the protagonists. And amongst their similarities, which I'll get to, a major difference struck me. Why do I buy into Tom Ripley's motives more than Oliver Quick's? Why does his deceit feel more authentic? Before I get into how they're different, let's look at how Andrew Scott's and Barry Keoghan's crazed con artists are alike. Patricia Highsmith's 1955 novel, The Talented Mr Ripley, has inspired many on-screen adaptations. Most famously and successfully, the 1999 Anthony Minghella film starring
Matt Damon.
Damon's Ripley is naive and charming, a youthful working-class opportunist seduced by the allure of privilege. Andrew Scott's Ripley is far more sinister, arguably truer to Highsmith's novel. There's no sense in which Tom charms Dickie, the wayward son he's been secretly sent to bring home from his hideout on the Amalfi Coast. He just jams himself awkwardly into his life, with the sort of anti-charisma that Scott does to perfection. In Saltburn, Oliver is our awkward outsider, struggling to fit in at Oxford and finding no other company than this stud.
In my head, anything. Ask me a song.
Nah, you're okay.
Come on.
It's not like I don't believe you.
Please. Come on.
No, I believe.
Ask me a song then!
You do feel sorry for Oliver at the beginning. Unlike Ripley, he comes across as more shy and reserved than creepy. But both Ripley and Oliver exist on the edge of a world they're desperate to be a part of. and look far more likely to trip and fall in than manufacture an opening. Both, after all, make pretty shaky starts. Ripley mangles his words and nearly reveals the covert mission Dickie's father sent him on. Quick lays it on too thick and insults Felix's privilege by cleaning his room. 2 steps back, no steps forward. But they recover, gain confidence, and then the games really begin. When Oliver infiltrates Saltburn and starts to work the eccentric Catton family out, his awkwardness recedes into a smooth, malign charm. Tom Ripley, sensing the suspicion of Marge, Dickie's partner, secures Dickie's trust with an act of apparent but mischievous honesty when he admits it was in fact Dickie's father who sent him. But here, for me, is the key difference. Tom Ripley is a genuine and plausible opportunist, while Oliver Quick is a never puts a foot wrong, altogether too smart to be completely believed evil mastermind. Let me explain. Top of the first episode, we see Ripley's dishonest background, scamming a grifter's living under the alias of George McAlpin, struggling to cash a cheque or even get running water. When Herbert Greenleaf offers him the chance to go to Italy and retrieve his son Dickie, you see the appeal, quick as Tom does. Steady money, an Italian holiday, and the chance to deceive. Ripley might have always had sinister intentions, but his opportunism is genuine. He grows into his con artistry, manipulating on the fly. You buy it. It's real.
Her name?
Marjorie Sherwood.
Marjorie Sherwood. She's an attorney at the time.
At that time, and still.
Saltburn asks viewers to accept another reality altogether. At the film's finale, strutting around the deathbed of Felix's mother, Elspeth Catton, her death is revealed as the final step in a much more baroque, premeditated scheme. Sabotage. Multiple murder. They've all been in Oliver's mind from the start. Ripley's descent into villainy is gradual, one amoral decision leading to the next, an inevitable arc from failed conman to skilled serial killer. Quick's character development is much more circular, his wickedness pre-existent. He's evil from the get-go, which begs the question, why? Saltburn provides its answer when it busts Oliver's assumed working-class identity in a spectacular scene. Felix, despite Oliver's increasingly frantic protest, insists on visiting the Quick family home. By the end of a disastrous visit, we know his father isn't dead, as Oliver claimed, nor is his mother a drug addict. They are instead loving parents in a middle-class suburban home. Oliver's poor me backstory was just a ruse to enlist Felix's pity. So Saltburn is less a story about the haves and the have-nots, and more about the haves and wants more. Oliver's hatred is not rooted in working-class alienation, but middle-class envy. His contempt for the Catton family arises from jealousy of their wealth, not affront at their privilege. Now personally, I think this idea, middle-class envy as a driver of resentful hatred, has a lot of potential, but it's kind of raised and then dropped, as there's a lot with this film, and ultimately comes off as shallow. Oliver wanted more stuff, got more stuff, and can now dance naked in his new mansion. Listen, fair enough. I'm not blaming him. I might do the same, but where's the satisfying villain origin story? Where's the complexity behind his motivations? It's not there. The naked dance is definitely the tamest of the notorious viral moments in Saltburn. Before that, we have to endure some period drama, slurpy bath time, and a dash of imaginative grave digging. All pretty disturbing sexual escapades on Oliver's road to control and possession. His hypersexuality almost defines his character, with all of his explicit encounters serving as tools for manipulation. Tom Ripley's queerness, on the other hand, is subtle, more suggestive, repressed. Ripley is humanized by his sexuality, a nuanced expression of his inner conflicts, vulnerabilities, and desperation to fit into an alienating world. Maybe Fennell, in Oliver, aimed to satirize how grotesquely obsessed we are with consumption in today's age of social media, and I guess the bathtub scene really fits that bill, but when he started shagging Felix's grave, I couldn't help but think, you're just doing this for the sake of it now, aren't you? On the topic of repressed sexuality, Steven Zaillian gave his adaptation of Ripley an intriguing and clever twist. Consistent references to the art of Caravaggio, the Italian Baroque painter notorious for his violence on the canvas and off it. Funnily enough, I'd no idea who Caravaggio was until earlier this year when I saw some of his art in Rome and was intrigued, mostly by his cinematic use of light, which is apparently called chiaroscuro. Zalin himself employed plenty of this technique in Ripley, with his high contrast deployment of black and white, but it's Caravaggio's actual character that exerts a greater influence. The painter's turbulent life, his sporadic resort to lethal violence, his closeted homosexuality are all strongly mirrored in Ripley's own character. The final episode even begins with a flashback to 17th century Rome. Every point of comparison further layers our understanding of Ripley's motivations. Each further humanises him. A nice touch from the director. So back to my original question. Why am I more invested in Tom Ripley's motives than Oliver Quick's? Or perhaps more fundamentally, why do I find Ripley a more compelling character than Oliver? Saltburn and Ripley share a central theme. Outsiders, elites, and a craving to belong. In both, the protagonist appeared to satisfy that craving and via the exact same means, manipulation and deceit. However, while Ripley's methods of deception ultimately and paradoxically reveal the person he truly is, Oliver's serve to conceal him. In Ripley, we witness the story of a dishonest character authentically realising his sinister potential. In Saltburn, we gradually build up to a grand reveal, pulling back the curtain to expose a villainous scheme which has been playing out from the very beginning, but disappointingly little about the villain behind it.